As a young boy, I was playing music. I stopped playing music about 14 years old, and I didn't do any music until I moved to Sweden when I was 22. When I came to a country that I could not speak, suddenly there was place for sound and music. And I think this was making me to start to involve seriously with music. Political activism and activism generally I've done all my life. I'm born in a family of political activists. My father and mother was political activists. My mother is 94 now, and she is still a political activist. So this was not a choice. This was a kind of something I inherit from my family. So when I came to Sweden, I started to work with music. I started to play, no teachers, totally autodidact. And then I continue in the music academy. I studied 5 years, composition and so on.
What did you play there?
I played saxophone.
Okay. That was what you started?
No. When I was a child, I was playing flute, and I was playing the piano, and I was playing the violin. I was playing different instruments, but it was not serious. It was like a child, you know. Parents usually, many times Jewish parents, they hope their child will be Rubinstein or Einstein. So you have to study music. So I studied music, but I don't think I thought it was so interesting, as a matter of fact.
Okay. What is the most important thing for you that units these activities?
I don't understand the question.
Art, music, and activism are bound?
Together.
Yes. Which is the most important thing that bounds them?
I think it is not possible to detach them from each other. For me, they are bound together. If you ask me what is more important for me, if I have a leg or I have a hand or an eye or a nose, it is all part of the whole. I would not, but I can say if I have to choose between composing and playing, then I would say I would choose playing, because playing music is, you get a direct contact with the listener. Composing is a very lonely work. You sit alone, and then after working on an orchestra piece for 1 year, then in 19 minutes it's finished. It is a very strange thing. So if I had to choose, but I prefer not to choose and to do all the things together. I think with what is interesting with sound art, if you speak about objects that make sound, in art and sound installations, what is interesting about them, they don't have a beginning, they don't have end. You can come into it and listen to it, go away, come back. There is interactivity in the way of listening and communicating to the listener and from the listener that I find very interesting. And sometimes I would like to make, and I try to make pieces that are so long. Like I made one piece, it was 24 hours. And the musician could change, but all the time in music. And the audience could come and go. So there is something interesting also when you have objects and not no people playing. It's only the sound. Many sound installations, I personally miss the visual. Many sound artists think it's enough with some speakers. I don't think so. I think if you make sound art, it's very good if also you have the visual aspect of how you present the sound in what way it looks and how it corresponds to the.
And where do you play that 24-hour piece?
Where? In Stockholm.
Oh.
And we had
in a theater?
Yeah, we have it is a center for new music and intermedia art. It's called Filkingen. It started 1933, so it's a very old institution. It have changed through the time, but all the great composers and innovative people of music have been there. Stockhausen and Cage and David Tudor, all of them have visited Stockholm, especially in the 60s and 70s in this institution. And so.
Well, yesterday listening to your concert, we could feel overwhelming, intense, energetic, and physical music. And conceptually speaking, how does your ideas about noise and music come together in your composition with your political ideas as an activist?
The noise music is also a very wide definition. It can be from the English word noise I don't like so much. The Swedish word for noise, it's oljud. It's even worse because it's kind of saying not sound or something like this. The best word for noise is the German, is Rauschen. And Rauschen means the sound of the leaves or the sound of electric shortcut, this, you know, or intoxication. You can, if you drink too much or you use drugs, geräuscht. So it's somehow, the word is this kind of tipping the balance of what is music and what is sound and what is not. And this is, I think, is very important for me, for noise music. Even though personally I like noise music that is very loud, very high decibel, but it's not necessary. It's my personal preference. And I think that for me, especially with noise, is that is a lot of things happens all the time, and the listener has to focus inside, like with the camera. You have to focus in and focus out. You have to find your own line, your own how many things you want to concentrate or not. This is one. And the second thing for me is like jumping into water. You have to be encapsulated by the sound. For me, it doesn't work if I sit here and the noise is there. I want to sit in it, that it will surround me. And for this, it needs some kind of intensity and very density and a lot of changes. Of course, this is the easiest way to make very interesting noise music is with electronics, because you can control all parameters and everything is under your control. On the other hand, I think that when you eliminate the executor, then the contact between the music and the listener is somehow disrupted, because we as human beings is looking for communication with other human beings. So if you sit with an orchestra with 19 people like before yesterday, then you get this kind of feeling, I think. But I think to get really noise, instrumental noise, to get really as I wish, then you need the orchestra with 90 people, 100 people. Then you get the complexity and this a lot of density and a lot of things happening all the time. But to get such a big orchestra to do what you want is very difficult, and to get classical musician to do that is even more difficult. I have tried several times, and sometimes when it works very good. Sometimes, once it happened that 4 hours before the premiere in Munich, the radio orchestra of Bayern in Germany refused to play. 4 hours before the premiere, they rehearsed the piece for 92 people. They played it later, half a year later, but they refused because it was so strange for them. They have to play very loud, like 25 minutes. No one instrument play the same like the other. And this is like, you know, you have violins, they want to play the violin the same. They want, you know, you see the orchestra. The number 10, he want to play the same like number, he or she look like how it is. Suddenly, everyone is a soloist. They are afraid. So I think it's very difficult to get this kind of ideal situation. But I also do sound installation and objects of noise and so on. So.
But this idea for you that make that pieces with such a lot of people have something to do with your political ideas?
It depends how you look upon it. No, I don't think so. Even though for this piece that I spoke about, it's called State of Siege. It's about a siege. And to make a state of siege, you need, I had two soloists, a piano and bass flute, and then the whole orchestra is the siege. So, of course, but it's not to do with the political view. I think it's to do with the subject of the piece more. This I think. You know, the notion of a composer and an orchestra is in itself against activism, because the composer is one who decides. It's a dictatorship. So there you have a contradiction between the political view, we want open and democratic decision and so on, and then suddenly you come to the orchestra and say, you play like this, and you like this, and you like this. And it's problematic, but if you want to get the sound and the music and the composition as you want, so you are doing it. On the other hand, like when we work with this 19-piece orchestra before yesterday, Terra Nullius, there it is more democratic, because I have an overall structure. I have decided how the time is used, some structural decisions, but then inside it, everyone is quite free to do what they want. So these different levels of collaboration and collective decision making. To make a collective decision making, you need time. You need to know each other. You need experience. You need a will to go to the same direction. If you come to an orchestra and you have 4 days rehearsal, it is not possible if you will not rely on the people that they want. Like we did before yesterday, we had some hours only. But I think it worked well, because the attitude of everyone was, let us try to make this work.
And there is some way where you can relationate the political ideas with the musical ideas composition?
I hope that all my work somehow has a political message. I give titles that is starting the way of thinking of the listener. If it's called The State of Siege, it's dedicated to the, let's say, the refugee camp of Jenin, or if I write a piece that is dedicated to the 10 people who have been murdered by the Israeli army on the boats to Gaza, or whatever, then the political aspect is already starting. But the music in itself has another political importance. It is to do with trying to make people to listen in a new way, not to listen in the way they used to, not to expect the same chords or the same rhythms or the same patterns that you hear everywhere, every day, all the time. This is a battle against the, I would say, consumation society that is selling us music packaged in special packages. It can be a package for the punk people, it can be a package for the jazz people, for the rock people, for the classical, for the romantic, you know. They know how to package, they know how to sell. I think that the task of new music, I think the importance of new music is to break this and to try to make music that is making us to listen and think in a new way. Because I think that as soon as you start to question how you listen, maybe you start to question other things too. Because when you start to question the situation, the hierarchy of what is important, what is not important, what to do and what not to do, what is allowed and what is forbidden in music, the next day maybe you ask what's going on in town or what's going on in the school of your children or whatever. And this is not something new. It's the editor of the first encyclopedia, D'Alembert, he wrote a little book. It's called About the Freedom of Music. And there he's saying, and I quote from memory, it's not exact. He say, all forms of freedom are bound together. The freedom of music starts the freedom of the feeling, starts the freedom of the thinking, starts the freedom of acting. And the freedom of acting is the enemy number one of the state. So if you want to keep the monarchy, don't change the form of the opera. This is very childish, this is very naive, but I think there is a little truth in it. And I hope that my music in somehow is making people to ask themselves, is this music? And if it is not music, if they say no, it's not music, then I ask them why? Why it is not music? What is music? When we start this discussion, what is music? What is sound? Why? Then we are on the right path. The problem is that we accept everything. The problem is everything is acceptable. One of my CDs got a review, the perfect music to make late guests go home. Because it's practical. If you have a party, it's 3 o'clock, you want to go to sleep, people drinking, they don't want to go home. You put this music, I promise you they will go home. Why? Because they don't have of course because of the party, and they don't have the feeling of starting to think this music. No, they want to have kind of entertainment, something they could speak to and so on. When you go to my concerts or listen to my music, either you listen or you go away. And I think this is very good, because I don't want people to be entertained in this way that they can do many other things at the same time. Music can have many different or sounds, have many different, I will say, music have many different tasks. You can have music when you work, make it easier for work. You can have music when you sit in a bar, of course. I don't think my music is very good to sit in a bar. I don't know why, once in the Swedish radio, in a kind of popular music program in the afternoon, 5 o'clock, they put some of my pieces. I don't know why they did it, but I know that what happened. People phone to the radio and say, we cannot drive the car, we cannot vacuum clean the house, we get nervous. And they phone to me the next day, ask, what do you think about that? I said, I think it's good. You should not drive the car when you listen to my music. It is not corresponding with each other. So, I mean, music has many faces. It's very difficult to, but for me, the most important is that the most important aspect of music is that you cannot close your eyes. You know, you go look in a picture, you don't like it, you close your eyes, or you turn back. Music, you cannot escape. Sound, you cannot escape, and this is what is the tragic of it, because you hear it everywhere. And this influences our brain. It influences our way of perception what is music. If we hear all the time this kind of, I would call it, tyranny of chords and scales and rhythms, that is the one that we hear. There is variation, but in principle it's the same. Then of course we believe that it should be like this.
Yes. Okay, so what is the strategy from the instrumental compositional side to create that intensity, tension in your music, if you have some strategy?
I think we spoke a little bit about it before. For me, the strategy is to do with intensity and density. And somehow, I strive to achieve a total independence of all the instruments. That it is that no instrument will do exactly the same like the others. This is theoretical. It is very difficult to verbalize exact what is strategy, because every piece of music or every sound installation have its own strategy and its own logic. I cannot have, I at least cannot have one logic for all pieces. I love beautiful melodies. I really love beautiful melodies. I have composed, as I think, very beautiful melodies, conventional beautiful melodies. For me, it is no contrast. It's just, I define, I want in this composition to make it so as beautiful as possible in the conventional way. And then the review is writing, always Dror Filer, music has terrorized us with noise, and now he's terrorizing us with beauty. So I don't escape this. I long for the extreme beautiful, or extreme brutal, or extreme noisy, or whatever, or extreme long. Then also there is also another aspect that's very important. If I stand alone and play solo, and there's 200 people, this is a very special situation. It is a balance. You play. When you play, you are influenced by the fact that you are alone. I have made a piece that is one listener, only one listener and 8 musicians. So you come and you stand and they play a piece. It's totally different. For the listener and for the musician, you play for one person. So all these aspects have to be taken in account and consider what is important for this piece, this special one. So I think this is the most important thing is that you should, I think, I tell, if I have some pupils, I don't have so many, but sometimes I have, I tell them, please don't compose. Don't write, don't play. We have enough music. We have too much bad music, and we have enough good music. We don't need more music. Only if you have to do this. You have to do it only when it's really a necessity. You cannot not write music. Then it's okay. Don't write because you are a composer. Write because you have something to deliver. Something you think, I have to put it out and give to other people. This is very romantic and old-fashioned in a way, but I think this, for me, this is the way. I could not stand on the stage and play if I think that, okay, one more concert I play, okay, and then I have some computer. No, I cannot, because then it will be boring for me, it will not work. I think the audience will hear that this is only kind of in-between concert, and then it's better not to have this concert.
Well, we just talk about noise, and it's not the perfect word. And do you think that you agree with the idea that noise is problematic, but at the same time is the germ of new meanings?
Again, it depends what you define as noise. If you look in music history, I've written several articles about noise, music, what is noise and so on. So if you want, I can send you. But if you, in one of the articles, I write that the origin of noise music is in Beethoven Symphony No. 3, the 17th bar, and or the 7th bar, I don't remember. But what it is, he introduced a chord that is totally wrong according to this time. And the people who review this first performance of this symphony, third one, they wrote, Beethoven is introducing the noise of the battlefields of Napoleon in our concert houses. If I listen to this piece without the notes, I don't hear it. Nobody hears it, because it is nothing. You can even go further back to St. Matthew Passion of Bach in the crucifixion episode. He has a chord that built on thirds upon each other. It's a kind of cluster. If you hear it, it is noise. So what was the generation before, what was for them noise, for us it's not noise. And if you look in history, it's all the time like this. Arnold Schoenberg was very noisy. People was like, but it's still, they call it new music. It's more than 100 years old. I think it's the only art field that things that are more than 100 years old are called new. So it is very ridiculous. But the problematic with noise is somehow it is a negation of everything that is accepted as music. So it is in a way negating its own purpose. Because if you say, I am not music, then why you stand on stage and play? How you work with this problematic when you want to break this pattern of listening and how you listen and at the same time expect people to listen. You know, it is a very complicated, it is not so easy. And I think it's good that it's not so easy to explain, because this is the idea. Music should not be explained. I even don't believe that music should be heard only through the ears. I think if you don't hear it through the body, you don't get the real effect of music, especially if you want to work with density and intensity. You feel it in the body. You feel the music. So this is I think the problematic with noise. When you question everything, you kind of demolish the notion what is music, because there's no melody, there's no harmony, there's no rhythmical pattern you can follow in a way. Then you ask yourself, what is left? So there's easy answer. The left is that you create as a listener your inner melody, your inner rhythm, your inner harmony or disharmony from what you hear, because you cannot hear everything all the time. So you focus in, focus out, and so on. And I think that also that noise music in a way is like, it's a very natural way to perceive reality. Because when you go in the street, you see a car, you see some people, you see a bird, you see a tree. They have nothing to do with each other. But as a person, you create a meaning. In the same way, I hope that this kind of complicated music, noise music, very modern music, this kind of sounds that seems not to be together or don't make any meaning together, somehow we have to work as a listener. It is not something I give you. You have to work, and then you get something. If you don't work, of course, you just confront with this wall of the noise.
Do you have some sound memories from them?
Yes. The most strong sound memory I have is the sound of war. I was in war as a soldier. I was in the Suez Canal 1970, and I was in a truck that was bombed. And this sound I will never forget, and I would love to recreate this sound, but I realize it's not possible. I have tried, but it's not possible because it has to do with with the room. It's outside, it's huge, like a huge room, and it is, I think the density and the intensity of the sound is so big and so strong in combination with the psychological situation where you are, life and death and so on. So it is not, you cannot separate the sound there and the psychological situation. So this is a very strong sound memory I have, yes. And then there is a very strong sound memory that I have the pleasure to have the same sound memory as Xenakis had. It's the sound of demonstrations. When you have demonstrations, people going from one to another, and you hear some people shouting some slogan there, and then another there, and it's not going together, but it's going together. And this kind of discrepancy, and this also, because I have been in demonstrations since I am a very little boy. So this is also, I think it have to be in my music. It's another thing that is very interesting to hear, that many times people go to the concerts, noise concerts, my concerts, and they say, why it's so aggressive music. And it's very strange, because it's not aggressive. If you go and to the, I don't know the name of this big waterfall here outside in somewhere, in Paraguay, there's the huge one, yes. And you listen to this sound, you know, nobody will say, oh, why this waterfall is so aggressive? No, they just say, wow, what a sound, what a bass, or what is this kind. We get overwhelmed by the sound, or a storm, or when you sit in a car, like we said yesterday, and there came the hail on the car. This is also, nobody is putting any psychological meaning in it. Why do they do to music and sound? Of course, you can answer it's because it's a human being behind it, and you. So, but I don't think it's necessary. I think it will be very good if you could kind of let us listen to the sound and see what happened with us, instead of trying to imagine what the composer or the people who play want. Don't listen. I think we have a problem also in our way of listening. People think too much when they listen. Especially musicians and composers, they not only think too much, they compare. They listen to orchestra pieces, oh, this reminds me, oh, he's using the bassoons as Stravinsky used in this, or he's using the saxophone as Archie Shepp, or whatever. If you start to think like this, you don't hear the music, you are too late. The music is now. It is not, you cannot listen to the music that was 1 minute ago. You can listen only to the sound that is now. So as soon as you start to think, you are kind of hampering the listening. So I usually say as a joke, if you play music that is so loud that you cannot think, then maybe you can listen. I can say one more thing that I want to say. We are, as we say, we are very much predestined to decide what is music, how it should sound. We are programmed. We are programmed by our experience, by what we hear and what we see. I had a fantastic experience. I was playing music in the guerrilla camps of the FARC in Colombia in the year 2000. And I was with a little theater group, and I played music. And we were playing for people who never, ever saw theater, never saw a saxophone. And they called my instrument, they said, this is instrument that sounds like a horse. This was the name of the instrument. The instrument sounded like a horse. And I play, you heard me, so you know how I play. I came 1 year later to the same place, and then one of the guerrilla soldiers told me, you know, half a year after you came to us, there came another man. He was a gringo, and he had played the same instrument, but he could not play. And then he showed me on the mobile phone. This guy was playing really good bebop. But for them, no. I was the first who played this instrument for them. This is the way this instrument should sound. Then came a man who played traditional saxophone. No, this is wrong. We know how this instrument should sound. And exactly this we're doing all the time. We know how it should sound. We don't listen to how it sounds. We don't think why it sounds like it sounds. We just compare it to what we are programmed somehow, and then we are in trouble if we want to introduce something new. We have to make people, our listeners and ourselves, conscious that we are in a trap. We have to find a way how to go out of the trap. One of them is to make sound installation, noise, break the narrative thinking about music, breaking, for me, for example, the Western music with chord progressions. You have the dominant and the subdominant, and then back to the tonica, and you know, for me this is like, I don't like, and I don't think we have to follow. I am born in Israel, in Asia. Why should I work with music that is European? Why should you in Argentina or in Brazil work with European harmony or instrumentation? We have to find our own ways. For me, music should not have a beginning and end. It is a clip from a big, big music that never ends and never starts. I decided this part will be presented today, and another day maybe this. And you can imagine yourself how it continue or not. So I think this is very important, how to break this kind of hierarchy structure. And this, if you think about it, this is to do with activism and with politics. How to break the hierarchy in society, in the school, in education, in teaching of composition, in teaching of instrument playing, in how we educate our children. All of this is a question of hierarchies that force us in certain patterns, and we have to somehow resist. Okay? Thank you.
Gracias.
Thank you. How you will cut it, I don't know, but this is your problem. I speak too, not enough breaks. Thank you.
Thank you.
So, and you take your microphone. Don't forget your microphone.
Yes.
And I go home. I have one like this at home, so I don't need. Otherwise, I would not say.
Okay. Gracias, bro.